hitting the record button. All right. Wonderful. People can hear us on the Twitter Spaces. Excellent, excellent. So let me just do a quick 1-minute intro before we get into it. So welcome everyone. My name is Albert, CEO of Bitcoin Startup Lab. Welcome to the Bitcoin Olympics Hackathon. This is a Bitcoin ecosystem-wide hackathon where multiple Bitcoin communities, protocols, and champions have come together to support, reward, and celebrate the innovative spirit of founders and builders on Bitcoin to create valuable use cases for a sustainable Bitcoin economy. The Bitcoin Olympics Hackathon is brought to you by the Bitcoin Startup Lab. We're a top pre-accelerator in the Bitcoin ecosystem who help people turn ideas into investment-worthy startups. Also, big shout out to our media partners, BTC Inc., parent company of Bitcoin Magazine, the top media on Bitcoin, and CryptoSlate, a crypto agnostic media platform that brings the latest happenings of Bitcoin to the rest of the crypto world. And of course, a big thank you to all of the teams and guest speakers that come together to make the show possible and accelerate the advent of the Bitcoin economy. So today, we're honored to be joined by 3 investors who all love Bitcoin. And Chris, who's a GP and co-founder of Gossamer Capital. And we have Igor, who's a founder of Contribution Capital. And of course, last but not least, Mike, who's a MD and co-founder at Lightning Ventures. Welcome, guys. Awesome, awesome. So how about we start off with that was just like a very brief introduction. Can we go around the room and you guys introduce yourselves and your funds? Really happy to hear what you guys have to say before we jump into the main discussion topics.
Sure, I'll go first. I'm Christopher Berger, general partner, Gossamer Capital. We're an early stage venture fund focused solely on blockchain, decentralized protocols, distributed computing, and our focus has really turned, this year with ordinals, the advent of ordinals into, NFTs on Bitcoin. Very, very heavily focused in that space right now.
Super. Thanks for that. Thank you for that intro, Chris. And how about we do Igor next and then Mike?
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Albert. I'm Igor, a general partner at Contribution Capital. It's
Igor, sorry, do you have your phone on mute? Can you turn on the volume because we have feedback right now?
Yeah. Is it better now?
Yeah, perfect. No more feedback.
Cool. Yeah. Once again, I'm general partner at Contribution Cap. It's an early stage VC fund focused on Web3 decentralized protocols as well. So both Bitcoin space and not just Bitcoin, but we're really into it because we believe that Bitcoin is a place for the future of the DeFi of the future, the economy of the future. I guess are gonna take its place on Bitcoin. So we are really bullish on it. So thanks for having me once again here, Albert.
Welcome, Igor. Welcome. And you're up, Mike.
All right. Well, I'm Mike Jarmus. My friends call me Muzz, and my company is Lightning Ventures. That's LTNG.ventures. And we're a little bit different because we do have a pilot fund. We're relatively new, just over 2 years old or so. And we have one pilot fund that is currently nearly fully deployed, 100% deployed. And that was a friends and family fund where we charged no fees and no carry. And I'm essentially running it for my friends, making my way in this world. Previous to that, I had psychotically invested in over 1,500 startups. That's everything from flying cars and robotic lawnmowers and you name it. And was very active trying to learn as much as I could. And I'm a 2013 Bitcoiner. I had the second Bitcoin ATM in New York City then. So, I decided to focus fully on the Bitcoin space and Bitcoin venture capital. I think I'm a little different than some of the other people up here because, I'm hearing words like other protocols and people are bullish on some of this other stuff, the ordinals, and don't worry, I'm friendly. So it's all good. But, just a little bit of a different take on, some of these, crypto, DeFi, sort of stuff. Even some of the things that are happening on Bitcoin that are a little controversial and a little outside of the things that I focus on. But we have a syndicate. So that's basically a group of psychotic angel investors that like to invest in early stage Bitcoin companies. And that's all we do is early stage Bitcoin companies, right? The minimum's $1,000. Because that's really how you want to learn when you start angel investing. You want to invest $1,000 at a time, read updates from the founders, see where you can be impactful. And that's what you want to do. If you have $25,000 to invest, you're better off investing $2,000 into 12, 13 deals and then seeing how it happens. Because just like Bitcoin, NGU technology, right, that number goes up over time as you learn the art of early stage investing, which all of us up here are trying to make a living out of early stage investing, and it ain't easy. But yeah, that's a little bit about me and what I'm up to.
Thank you for that, Mike. And certainly it is not easy, but it is a sorely needed service, right, for the economy to grow, the Bitcoin economy to grow. And it's great that all of us have such different backgrounds and different takes, right, and different focuses. I think this is going to be a really, really interesting conversation. And yeah, you guys feel free. I mean, like in the spirit of the Olympics, right? Put your best foot forward and share your best ideas. We're here to push the limits of innovation on Bitcoin. So this is where the diversity of ideas comes in, right? Cross-pollination of ideas creates better innovations. So with that said, let's just jump into it, right? Because you guys all have your respective experiences investing in different parts of Bitcoin, right? And for different reasons. And so I think it'd be really interesting to sort of how about out of the investments you guys made, were there patterns, right? Were there patterns that, what are the top 3 milestones that you would like to see a startup project, like we're not talking about founder yet, but the startup project to have achieved in order for them to be worthy of, say, $250,000, $250,000 pre-seed raise? We could in no particular order, but I'd love to hear from all 3 of you. Right.
Sure, I'll get started. I mean, one of the things that we're looking at, is a sort of a commitment to the definition of how you're looking at addressable market. If there is a confusion about whether you're interested in B2B or B2C, that is a pretty substantial distinction that needs to be disambiguated for a concept to work. Especially in an early stage, it's really not possible to be a successful consumer app and also be a successful enterprise solution. That's boiling the ocean. And so, we're looking for founders that really kind of understand that distinction from a product development standpoint.
Wow, that was great. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, the question is, out of, we're looking for sort of patterns here, right? So of the companies that were able to raise $250,000 in the pre-seed round in your portfolio, do they have any milestones in common, right? If I'm a aspiring founder or entrepreneur, what are some of the milestones I should be shooting for if I want to raise $250,000 for my pre-seed round?
Well, one of the things I think to take into consideration is that we're in a very new area. Okay, so we're in the Babe Ruth slugging sort of deal here with early stage technology investing in general. Okay, and then on top of that, you're talking about Bitcoin focused or crypto focused. And I know when we launched our fund, let's just say 2 years ago to this day, maybe Bitcoin was $50-some thousand. Okay, so you could have invested a $50,000 minimum in my fund, right? At that time, this time you can't change it, right? Or you could have invested and had 1 Bitcoin and hodled it 2 years later. I know we have a positive IRR, you know what I mean? And Bitcoin is down to where it is today. That could be a whole nother story today. Okay. If you had the same 50,000 today to invest into a fund, let's check that scorecard in 2 years, right? Who knows where Bitcoin's going to be? So is there a particular trait? You know, I mean, you know an all-star when you meet one. I mean, are they a killer? Is the person a freaking killer? Think about that when you're evaluating a founder. Is he a fucking killer? Excuse my language. You know, so you have that, but then again, you also have frothy markets, right? Pre-product, pre-everything. Oh my God, it's 20 million pre. Oh my God, did you hear? I heard about $100 million seed round at the, you know, at some of these peak times. So do you really need much then? You know, do you really need much if there's that kind of money flowing around, you know? In that type of environment, oh, it's all about growth, 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 growth. And in this type of environment, it's how are you going to get to profitability? You know, where's the defense? So it's interesting. I mean, what do you even have to evaluate at an early stage? What do you even have to look at? Maybe you got a, you know, primitive data room with, you know, some financials, if you can even project those at some of those early levels. You got like some certificate of incorporation, maybe a, you know, a cap table with a couple of names on it. But it really just comes down to the team and what they've built so far, maybe what they've done before. And I think that's why right now you're seeing a lot of milestone-based financing. Instead of we're going to raise a slug of cash to get us 18 months of runway, it's we're going to raise this smaller amount of money to get us 5,000 users, to get us 10,000 downloads, to get us live in the App Store or whatever, right? And then maybe raise another small tranche, which I think is a better way to go about it, period. So to answer your question and not even answer it, I think it has also a lot to do with the overall market.
Super. Thank you for that. And what about you, Igor? What are some of the tips for?
Absolutely agree with everything the guys just said. I will add, I guess, I never mentioned this, but I have a classical VC background. So I was a principal and junior partner at a $500 million fund, at national fund, investing in growth stage VCs, startups, I mean. And now I understand the difference between the classical VC world and the blockchain VC world. And this difference is in in blockchain startups, they have a lot to do with community. So the community is very important, and a community is something you get earlier here. So when I'm looking at an early stage startup, I wouldn't say that I ever invested in a pre-seed like 250 grants, because it is our sort of minimum check. So we put at least 250 in a round of about like 1 million plus of pre-seed as well, but not lower rounds. But that's anyway. The first thing I look at after I understand the product, after I understand who is on the board with the team, I am looking at the visibility of the product, of the project. Okay, I look at Twitter, I look at social networks, I trying to understand who is following them, if they have great influencers as followers, if they have great founders of other products as followers. If they, I don't know, if they work in the Stacks ecosystem and they have Stacks as a follower, that's very important for us to understand that they have visibility, right? That's something you would never ever look at in a classical VC, but you would always look at here, like in blockchain. And this is a very early sign of a good company if they have a great visibility, great network, great social networks, not just like tens of thousands of followers who are nobody, right? But great smart follower investors, maybe members of different communities, right? Smart communities, or members of different investment DAOs or investment funds, or founders of projects, whatever. So that's the sort of thing I would look at, like the tech, the product, the team, the market, and the visibility in social networks.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that. And you mentioned your minimum check size is $250,000. What about you guys? How, I mean, Mike, it sounds like you have a wider range, right? Like invest a little bit and invest more. Like what's that range look like for you, Mike? And what about you, Chris? You guys both have like quite a number of like fairly early to be investing in Bitcoin. Like what has been like sort of like the average check size in the beginning, the range for you guys?
So real quick on what Igor said there, because he said a lot of things. First off, I mean, on the check size, you know, the big checks are scary. The big checks are scary in this environment. And, you know, I respect that. Coming in on a pre-seed level, you're throwing around 250,000. Okay, so that's a pretty big pre-seed round. I don't know how big that round is, but you know, or how, you know, jacked up that valuation is for 250,000, but you're taking a sizable chunk of the company at the earliest stage. And honestly, those pitches, even if you get the chance to swing at them in life, are so few and far between. For me, that's a hard one, right? Let's think about poker. All right. In poker, you get 2 cards. Okay. And then there's pre-flop action. Okay. And then you get to see a flop. And there's a lot of good starting hands you can get in poker. And there's a lot of cheap flops you can see. Okay. And then when you hit that flop, you always have the opportunity to invest more. So if you could get into those, you know, same deals for a quarter of the price, you're always going to have another opportunity to invest more money, you know, and that's when I would hit them hard. I mean, 250,000 is a lot. You know, we joke, we make up in heart what we lack in check size over here at Lightning Ventures. But, you know, I think our biggest syndicate deal was $500,000. And, you know, in this environment, you know, 100,000 is what it is, you know, it's wildly varying with everything, with the global economy, with inflation, interest rates, everything. People aren't investing. So we see it a lot more because we don't have that big invested capital kind of slug to invest out of. One other thing about what you said previously, though, on what you look for DAOs and who's in, you know, who they're following and whatever. I don't have a, you know, formal venture capital background, but what I know is we call that signaling, which is basically, I mean, I'm looking at, I think this is your website here. You've got some bangers on here, you know, from your company. I mean, Turing, am I on the right website? You invested in Turing? Company, just a monster. I invested before the Bitcoin stuff in an early round. Never heard anything from this company. And like 3 years later, they're through the roof, incredible, right? This is outside of Bitcoin. You have People AI on here, same story. You know, those are serious investments. And a whole different ballpark from evaluating who's following who on Twitter and what DAO is involved. You know, that's a whole different kind of thing. I'm sorry, I went on a rant there, but
it's fine. It's all valuable. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Just a comment. That's previous investments of our partners, and not the Bitcoin fund, obviously. Yeah.
Oh, are we getting rugged? Igor, you're back.
Took the large chunks in those. Boy, that's going to be those are 2 RTFs right there for sure. And that's short for return the fund for anyone there who wants to learn a little bit of lingo.
Nice. RTFs. Love it. Love it. What about you, Chris? You have anything to add on this subject?
Oh, you're muted, buddy.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think that it's pretty important to differentiate, you know, just kind of the maturity of the concept and how big of a hill the founders have to climb to create a go-to-market strategy. Some go-to-market strategies are simple and some are, you know, much more complex. And you know, that makes a huge difference. If we're talking about, a foundational technology that's going to take, months to productize and then years to deploy, into, a commercial, application, then, the check size is going to be much, much smaller. If we're looking at a more mature concept that, has a very streamlined go-to-market strategy, and a really a lot of very easily deployable, software assets, then, we could write a much bigger check size with a lot less risk.
Okay, can you give us what do you mean like a lot smaller check size? What's the size we're looking at? Okay.
Oh, I mean, for our first fund, I think our smallest check was 50,000 and the largest was, over 500K.
Nice. Okay, that's a healthy range. That's a healthy range. Yeah, I mean, you guys are really diving into like the early stage when there's that range, right? That's nice. Nice. So yeah,
but Christopher, you don't have certain things like you don't invest in pre-revenue projects, or you don't have certain rules. Now, I mean, me, you could tell by my long hair, I'm a big rule follower, right? But when I was trying to learn from as much as I could from the people that I respected that were angel investors, Phil Nadel, Forefront Ventures, he has a hard rule. He just doesn't invest in pre-revenue deals. That's it. So if you're sending him something, I mean, that, and that's it. It's a hard no. So, is it good? Is it bad? Can you ever commit to that? How do you have the willpower to stick with that when you do get that pre-revenue deal, right? That's hard in itself. But then think about how many crypto related things that would have just kept him out of by default, or how many bad biotech deals that would keep you out of.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. So, I mean, I think it's a good time to sort of switch gears and to Mike's point about, is a founder a killer, right? Let's jump into this topic, right? Because I'm sure like we all agree that like it really, especially in the early stages, it has a lot to do with the founder, especially the CEO, right? Because it's not uncommon for companies to pivot even after they take that pre-seed money, right? Actually, it's probably quite often if they want to succeed. So what is it that you guys look for? Like how would you guys define those killer features in a founder? Like, have you guys seen any patterns, or is there something that you like to invest in?
Yeah, I mean, they will have to have, a history of like, pretty severe trauma from childhood. I'm just kidding, but only halfway. There is something that makes people really hungry, like really, really hungry. And to Mike's point, I mean, I think, calling it a killer is kind of I hate to say it, but it's a really good way to put it. We have a pretty substantial piece of our business that is just profiling our founders. They don't, those assessments are three-pronged. We're looking at personality, we're looking at intelligence, and we're looking at mental health. And to Mike's point, we're not looking at perfect mental health. We want them to be slightly unbalanced. And the reason for that is the Buddha was a terrible startup founder. He did not want to execute. He did not want to go to work. He did not want to leave the garden. You have to have a certain hunger and a certain level of crazy to really do this thing, which is, years from now, generations from now, people will call it, verifiably insane. So, I mean, it is a hard journey, and you have to have reasons that are endogenic, that are inside you for doing it, not just exogenic. Nobody that succeeds at this is just doing it for the money. That's not a thing. Okay. So, and that's part of the defensibility of our business. Our business model, I pity, like legitimately have, like a soft heart, for private equity and like late stage venture, because there's nothing to analyze. It's just numbers, and AI is going to eat their lunch in 5 years. But looking into someone's sort of spirit and seeing, what they're made of is really kind of a little bit more esoteric challenge. And that's why, early stage is much more interesting, to us, to our firm, because we can kind of, peel that onion and really see, what's inside.
I bet you're muted.
Thanks. No, that was very insightful. Thank you for that, Chris. So that's there's like some kind of like compulsion, right? Like a little bit, like they have to be on tilt. Like, so they're always motivated. They're always like running, right? So that's one. The other one is intelligence. And the third one was the third one? Like the first one you mentioned. You said it was
so there's mental health, there's personality and intelligence. And so the personality is sort of like, what color and flavor are they? In other words, we can't have, we can't invest in two geek founders, we can't invest into like used car salesmen. You have to have a builder and you have to have a seller. And, there's just like, it's just like a fundamental kind of, balance of the universe, yin and yang, kind of situation. I don't know how else to put it. But, there's got to be a seller and there's got to be a builder. And that's really kind of what keeps the shop, keeps the front and the back of the shop clean, really.
I'm glad you said that, because for our hackathon, it's a little different, right? It's not just about the coding. People go 2 to 4 people for the final project, but if it's 2 people, they have to have, like you said, it's sort of like the hustler or the person who's getting the customers or doing the marketing. The other person, they're hacking the code away, right? And that's the minimum requirement for people to submit their code and a 3-minute presentation for this hackathon. So thanks to your point. By the way, to the audience, we didn't like connect on this ahead of time. These are just patterns that sort of show up, right? Also, looking at just historic data on successful startups, that like they start. Most of them are twos, like most of them are twos and then threes, right? But those take up like 90% of success cases. Like it's not a coincidence that it's like, like you have like Bill Gates and Paul Allen and Jobs and Wozniak, even like Elon Musk back in the day, him and Thiel partnered up, right? So that's a magic number. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, what about you guys? Mike, I'm gonna save you for last, right? Because you're the one that brought up this term that we'll probably use forever now, the killer. Like, are they a killer? Like, is it a killer founder? Right. So we're gonna end on you. What about you, Igor? Like, what's your take on it?
What Chris just mentioned, it's really terribly difficult to assess. Okay, this mental things. There are things that are easier to look at, and classical VC, as well as I guess crypto VC as well, would also look at it. It is a background, right? That's something you can actually check when you're looking at the person. How many founders are there? 2 founders, 3 founders is better than 1, right? Because you're gonna work on the startup for the next 5 years, maybe even more, maybe less, but still, it's difficult to do everything like one-handed. Only one it's doing it. Only when you're alone, it's difficult. So 2 people, 3 people, different roles, like seller and doer, right? These guys, they need to know each other for several years, better like 3-5 years. They must know each other. They must be alumnus of great universities. That's well known for in a classical VC, right? Like about a half of all the unicorns have founders as alumnus of Ivy League or top US universities, right? So great technical background. If your founder already had a successful experience of launching a startup, of fundraising, okay, that's once my partner said to me that he believed that the most important thing, the most important skill a founder has is fundraising. Not a product, not building a product, not selling it, but raising funds, because a great product with no fundraising is worse than a bad product with a great fundraising. That's unfortunately, that's how VC and everything functions not today. Okay, and all of this you can assess more or less objectively, and it's easier than understand the mental ability and personal attributes of a person. So yeah, and that's what we are also looking at very deeply.
Well, if I judged people based on what school they went to, I wouldn't pass the test. So I'd have to fail myself. So I don't really look at that stuff. But you know, I mean, I wish they all were killers, right? But the truth is they just can't be. And it takes all kinds in life, right? You got carnivores and herbivores and somewhere in the middle, right? They're not all killers, right? But you know the killers when you see them. And like, really, what's a good fit, right? Is it the builder and the seller? That's exactly what it is, right? The guy who can build and the guy who knows sales and marketing. I mean, that's it. Two-person team. You know, some VCs that I at least know of won't invest in a solo founder who's not technical. It's part of their thing. If he's not a technical solo founder, they're out, period. One thing that I personally like is to invest in siblings. One of our portfolio darlings is two brothers. And I think that there was a report that came out about something from Harvard. Think about what you will with it, but basically said that like 68% of startups fail because of like dispute resolution, not because of failure to raise their next round. But like, you know, you've been doing dispute resolution since you were 5 years old, fighting over the toy. You know what I mean? I love those two founders. So yeah, founder makeup, founder market fit. We got all these fun terms, right? It's probably good material for the startup lab. But you know, sometimes that founder that you invest in, though, even though he's not a killer, he might not be the founder forever. You look at a lot of these things, right? You look at Travis Kalanick or the controversial founders, you know, oftentimes they're not. And it's actually a smart founder, okay? And this is important. It's a smart founder who realizes he's not the best person to sit in that seat at the right point in time and make the right decision by getting the right person in to be a CEO, by just being a technical co-founder, by taking on another position. And I've definitely seen firsthand some things go to shit because that original founder knew it and just didn't want to redirect and shift.
Thanks for sharing that, Mike. So I want to try to get to the bottom of this. So you said that when you see a killer founder, you know them when you see them. Like are there any adjectives or anything any clues that you could give us into you know, like people like in the audience or people who are going to rewatch this video like in the very near future, right? What are some of the clues like this is, you know, do I have like these one or two traits? And then they click like, wow, I think I might be that killer founder.
You got two professionals here. Let's hear from them first. All right. You got two people who like know what they're doing. They have like big checks.
All right. Let's guys chime in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, kind of the one of the main characteristics is this really kind of beautiful, whimsical curiosity, really not encumbered by a lot of dogma, and really kind of have this beautiful kind of open-minded quality. And I think that part of the reason that is such a dynamic teller for success is they have to sort of ride this weird seesaw, you know, kind of both sides of this kind of product. So they basically, when they go to fundraise, they have to tell, you know, investors how great the product is, and then when they go back to the office, they have to try to tear it apart, and that's like, this weird kind of, diametric, opposition that takes a lot of mental agility to pull off correctly. Because you can get stuck in one mode and lose your curiosity and really just stop, questioning, why people don't like the product or why investors aren't aping in. And so that sort of, kind of just sort of pathological curiosity is a big tell, but that also is a big tell for like just raw hash power. People, intelligent people, are really curious. They don't, they don't kind of get sucked into a lot of cultural dogma. And so, I think that curiosity really plays a number of different, it's a very good tell for us in what we've seen.
Yeah, no doubt. And also it takes a lot of courage to question and try to poke holes in your own product or whatever, right? It's like it goes hand in hand. Thanks for sharing that. And that's definitely a pattern that we saw too. What about you, Igor? Like what do you consider that killer mentality, right? Especially when the data, like you don't have so much data to like you said, traditional VC, there's a lot of data, right? But when you start compressing towards like the beginning of a startup, that's sort of like the quantum realm where the physics it's not the same as physics, right? You're looking at different things. Like what do you think, like to you, what's that killer like mentality for a founder?
I guess to be focused, but it is not even not focused, but deterministic. Okay, I mean to stay determined at your objective, at your goal in mind, right? How is it said? Stay foolish, stay hungry, right? And that's so important. It's not just the words, right? It's when you as a founder, you so much believe in what you are gonna do, and you're trying to do it, even when everybody literally everybody tells you that you're gonna fail. Okay, and when everybody tells you you're gonna fail, and you don't listen to them, or it even helps you to go further. I don't know how's it called in any language, but this is the trait that every founder must have in their guts, or otherwise they believe they're gonna fail and they're gonna fail. Okay,
yeah,
that's
it's like it's beyond grit, right? I think what you're looking for is almost like a self-faith. Like I don't know what's on the other side, but I want to go for it, and somehow I want to work this out. that I don't know how to explain that. Like maybe that's closest to self-faith. Yeah, but which is sort of like almost like extreme state of like confidence, right? Maybe like from childhood or whatever. Like they had like that champion gene, and they know the feedback loop of trying very hard at something and then keep trying until they make the breakthrough and they win, and they have that muscle memory, right? And they try to do that over and over again, and then eventually they apply it to a startup, right? And that's gold.
Yeah. And unfortunately, only one team in thousands gonna win actually. And we as VC investors, we have to understand who that would be and give money to those guys. Okay, all the 1,000 people should be so determined.
There's different types of right? I would say like yes, one maybe like especially in technology, a lot of times it's winner takes all, right? It's like very few or just one, but then there might be like 50 companies that they win in the sense that they make money because they got acquired by this company, right? So, but then there's hundreds and hundreds of companies that don't like they lose money, right? Yeah. So that's a very good point. Thanks for sharing that. So we're coming full circle now back to you, Mike. And after you define what this killer feature is, or what this killer, how people know about this, next run is going to be a little controversial. I'm going to ask you guys after this, right after the killer feature, what are the top Bitcoin technologies you'd like to invest in? All right. All right. So this could be interesting. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be different 6 months from now because the space is evolving so fast. So, but before we jump to that, Mike, what's your take on this killer feature for the founder? Like, what's that trait? What's that top trait that you would say?
Well, you know, what is a killer, right? If you lived in New York, you kind of get this sixth sense, right? You can feel it. A lot of people can feel that sort of thing. But killer is like a tough word, right? Because it's ruthless, but it's also like that drive, which I think you were trying to say. You were lack of words, Igor. It's that drive that no matter what, okay, they will forego pay. Okay, they will forego pay. They would rather see themselves in the ground than this thing not work. And that's obviously not true, but they're going to run it that way in their head. They are just in it to win it. They are not collecting a check and going through the motions. They are going to die for that thing. And then the killer, the guy that you don't want to cross. I mean, we were all in grade school. You knew the kids you wanted to kind of, you know what I mean, to stay away from. All right. And those are those type of people that really have what it takes to do whatever it takes. I just know we have some founders who are not taking a salary or haven't taken a salary or prepared not to. You know, they will do whatever it takes. It doesn't just dissolve. And I don't think that the Bitcoin space is really going to be radically different in 6 months. I think it's going to be just about the same as it is right now. And that's one of the things that separates Bitcoin from a lot of these other sort of things, is that Bitcoin doesn't move fast and break things. It's too important, being like the savior for the planet. It can't be willy-nilly in it out there.
Interesting. Okay, so anybody want to, thank you for that. Anyone want to add to this killer founder thing before we move on to the next topic? I think there's already some patterns emerging here, right? It's like mental flexibility, right? Mental flexibility, and then sort of like almost having like a chip on your shoulder, like you just got to prove something, like it's just part of your personality. And then like this grit or determination, or some people might call it like faith in oneself, right? Like, yeah, we don't really know what's on the other side, but we're just going to go for it. We're not going to give up, right? So these are definitely very.
Confidence will kill you, man. There's faith in yourself, there's determination, but confidence in an ego is terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah. Ego is a killer for mental flexibility, for sure. It's also a killer for progress. This is a really great point. And again, audience, these are investors who have seen quite a few deals, right? And they're sharing their observations on what they've seen in successful founders. So thanks, guys, for sharing that. I'm sure you guys have all seen thousands of deals. So with that said, Mike, you say you started investing in Bitcoin 2 years ago, right? Was that correct? Your fund?
I started Lightning Ventures like a little over 2 years ago, and then we had a small fund that we started raising. The friends and family got rolling with the syndicate, still building that out. We have deals now, 3 deals live. We continue. I put a lot into the syndicate. I want people to get started on their journey. I want to help these founders. That's where I put a lot of focus. Excellent.
And Chris, how long have you been investing in Bitcoin startups?
About the same amount of time, about 2 years or so.
So, okay, for the audience who are just joining us, this is like actually very, very, very early for Bitcoin because even up like last year, most Web3 investors, they didn't want to touch Bitcoin. But ever since ordinals happened, it changed people's perception, right? What about you, Igor? When did you start?
I'm a newbie here. I'm just started investing in Bitcoin just made my first big bet here, like a couple of months. So I'm just a learner.
All right, great. So I think I have an idea of that. You invested in like a protocol, right? On Bitcoin. Is that the big bet you're talking about?
Yes. It is a roll up over Bitcoin. Yeah.
All right, super. So okay, so I'm sort of in the middle, right? I'm about a year and a half into this. So let's hear it, guys. There's when I say Bitcoin technologies, let me just drop some sound bites out there, right? To get this ball rolling, right? So Bitcoin technologies, for example, Lightning is one of them. Bitcoin L1, right? It could be DLCs, it could be something to do with Taproot or something else, right? It could be stacks, it could be rootstock, it could be one of these new protocols that are coming up, like Interlay or Botanics, or out of Stanford, you have Babylon Chain, right? and many more spawning up as we speak. So has there been a pattern to like the types of companies you guys invest in or stay away from? And if there is, can you share it?
Yeah, I can share my view. I mean, still I'm a newbie, as I said, but I have a like my humble opinion on the Bitcoin space, and what I see as a outcome, as a newcomer, right? I see that a lot of capital, like more than $500 billion, are stacked into the Bitcoin. That is like useless. Okay, people invest in it, people keep it because they are idealistically believe in Bitcoin, which is great. Yeah, and I absolutely support this. But you can make use of this capital, right? And that's the whole idea. Any tool, any there's hell a lot of capital gonna be interested for me, like whether you can unfreeze it in the Bitcoin ecosystem itself, like on stacks or rootstock, or you can somehow transfer this value to Ethereum ecosystem. This also
So
can be
anything that could basically put your Bitcoin to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
To put this whole amount of capital to work.
All right, that's interesting. So it's very like utilitarian, right? Like if it's creating more use case or utility with Bitcoin, then you'll take a look. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's super. You guys disagree or agree or have like a different idea on that, guys?
All right, wait a minute. Well, I have a freaking stroke over here listening to this nonsense about how Bitcoin doesn't do anything, and that you should wrap the thing and try and get a yield or borrow against it and buy some ordinals, YOLO. Thank you from the guy who just got here. May I remind everyone, this guy just got to Bitcoin, just got to all this crypto, right? He's going through the cycle. This is 1,000 memes. Oh my God, Bitcoin is too expensive. Oh, the next Bitcoin. Oh yeah, it's Litecoin. It's Digibyte. It's Bitcoin Cash. It's this other thing. It's something. Oh no, it's a protocol. It's a protocol that's going to take everyone's CPU power and put it in a magic box. And we're all going to be leasing out our computer space and earning these tokens. And then we take these tokens and we sell them for other things. And this is going to be huge. And all of this sort of nonsense. And my medical records are going to be on a blockchain. Okay. And my dentist is going to have my teeth on a blockchain somewhere. And all of these absurd ideas that are never going to happen. Because when you get hit by a bus and this lady's trying to save your life and you don't have your freaking private key, and they don't know what your deal is, that's never going to happen, okay? And that's not a blockchain. What that is a very secure database, okay? And Bitcoin is the only, all right, blockchain, in my opinion. So the things that we don't invest in are anything not Bitcoin. Okay. And that's really easy. And I give a lot of credit to those people who invest in everything. I don't know how you're getting hit. It's Polygon. It's this gun. It's that chain. It's this no way. I can't even tell you the name of it. It's a guy from IBM. He's the blockchain specialist. I need you to sign a 10-page NDA. This is going to be huge. Get fucking real. You're a joke. The whole thing's a joke. Oh, it's ICO. Oh, we're going to raise a couple $100 million. Yeah, it's going to be big. And then nothing ever happens. Okay. It's a Kickstarter for the guy who's supposed to make the electric bike wheel, and he never does. He keeps your freaking money. Okay. That's ultimately what it is. All right. It's nonsense. But the people who are building on Bitcoin and in the Bitcoin ecosystem, which one day you will get to, my friend, on your crypto journey. Believe it or not, you are not the first to go through this, all right? And it takes losing a whole bunch in all of this other sort of nonsense. And then eventually you're just like orange pilled, eyes lasered, okay? You get it. You're eating just meat. You just have Bitcoin. You have a fucking sick ass multi-sig setup with your wife and your kids and the whole production. And you're just like, I can't believe that I was like giving all my money to this guy who told me that he was going to put cow farts on a blockchain and then sell them to companies somewhere, or whatever these people are coming out with doing. So
I warned everyone this is going to be controversial. So I enjoyed that personally. So all right. So I heard anything that's not Bitcoin, you don't invest in. So what do you define as Bitcoin? Like where do you draw the line there? Because it's getting very blurred right now, right? It's getting very blurred.
But that's just such an interesting question to ask. Okay. And it shouldn't even have to be asked. It's like, what do you define as Bitcoin? I guess, it's a question, but like you should never even have to think about what do you define as Bitcoin? Okay. I mean, I don't define stacks as Bitcoin. I don't define anything else, okay, as Bitcoin. All right. And all of these other things, wrapping your Bitcoin on another thing, or like locking it, or doing some kind of other thing, like none of that to me personally. And it's cool. I hope you guys make a bunch of money. I hope everyone who invests in all that stuff makes a bunch of money. I swear to God, God bless you. All right. I don't want any harm to come to it. It's great. And maybe you make a bunch of money. Maybe some of these things work. You know what I mean? Some of these wallets and NFT, DeFi things, and, the ordinal stuff, which, I mean, we invested in one ordinals company, I avoided the death threats, but we made one investment. And I think that I'm not really interested.
So let me try to, okay, I get it. So let me try. So basically like companies that will like basically handle their revenue in like native Bitcoin. Is that closer towards what you mean by like a startup that is like Bitcoin? So they're transacting at native Bitcoin, like not the wrap stuff, or is like a subset of that? Is it like even tighter than that?
Okay, I promise this will be my last rant and I'll be quiet. Okay. A company that merely accepts Bitcoin is not a Bitcoin company. Your neighborhood sandwich shop could accept Bitcoin. All right. I wouldn't say that that's a Bitcoin company, but you have so many different things happening in Bitcoin. You have the value for value movement with podcasts and streaming sats and music. And we've invested in many of these companies that are having the next sort of SoundCloud, okay, for music and music distribution and paying artists and all these things, right? Or there's Bitcoin startups in healthcare, in ad tech, right? Think of a Brave browser without the need of a shitcoin. You know what I mean? And you're getting paid in Bitcoin, earning half of all the ads that are on your screen. You know what I mean? It's that type of technology.
That's a really cool one. What was that one called again?
Slice.
Oh, right. No, that's a cool one. Yeah, very cool one. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah.
Look at all the different things that you can invest in just in the Bitcoin ecosystem. You've got wallets, you've got infrastructure, you've got things going on in every country in the world. We have investments all over, and it's borderless, it's permissionless, it's languageless, and I don't think all of these other crypto startups have that.
Super. Thanks for that. And last but not least, we're going to move to Chris here, and then we're going to do a final round after this, Chris, about your wish list items, the next things that you think should be built, especially in the next 200 days. That's roughly the amount of time it's going to, when the Bitcoin halving occurs, right? After that, we're going to go into I think about 10 minutes here of Q&A. So anybody in the audience that wants to ask a question, prepare yourself. So Chris, go for it, man.
Yeah, so it's tough. I'm gonna try to do this without angering Mike, but it may. So forgive me in advance. But so I come to this from a biological background, from an agricultural background. Holistic management, ecosystem design. And so, human tech is sort of, like this really, really clunky thing compared to, things like photosynthesis and respiration and like the way that real resilient systems operate. And so, when we're looking at tech, we're looking at iterations. We want to see things in the same area that have tried and failed. And then there's like this essential feedback loop, okay, that in nature is death, but in capitalism it's not too different, but it's failure. And we're looking at, we want to see these iterations, these things that have kind of gone and tried something and just completely failed at it, and then we get to close the feedback loop and figure out why, and we want to see. I mean, for example, like if we look outside of Bitcoin, into other kind of execution environments, which we do, Mike. I'm sorry, we do, but the reason that we do is this. There are some things that need to be built today that can't wait on Bitcoin because they need to iterate so that when they can be built on Bitcoin, then they can be built beautifully with, a sort of a really beautiful history of feedback of what worked and what didn't in a particular vertical, in a particular industry. So yeah, we love to see, ridiculous kind of insurance plays being built on Ethereum, because we get to see iterations. We get to have all of that data so that when, this slow burn, kind of actually like, when that smart contract is actually written to settle on Bitcoin, it's going to have, this whole history, it's going to be galvanized by, an entire history of kind of commercial applicability, as well as computer, kind of computational resilience. And so, we love the diversity. We don't, we have a significant bias towards things that are built on Bitcoin. However, we're really only looking at foundational technology on Bitcoin right now, simply because, I mean, JP Morgan is not going to ape into Bitcoin. They're not going to like start storing stuff, on in Bitcoin blocks. God love them. They're just not. But so there's some things that we're looking at other chains simply because they are going to onboard people into decentralized computing. And yes, it's not completely decentralized, and that is not lost on me, I promise. But we do get the brilliant kind of sort of privilege of kind of benefiting from all these iterations.
That's a really interesting point, Chris. It's almost like viewing Ethereum as sort of like a test net to Bitcoin. Yeah, and with that said, I think there's a lot of more. One thing I noticed when I went to Miami, Bitcoin, and Austin earlier this year was that there was a shift in investor sentiment, right? So I finally saw people from Ethereum space wanting to invest in Bitcoin, and other people too. So I mean, I guess it's a good time to sort of ask, like, since you're talking about Ethereum like as a test net for Bitcoin, is like how to, I would say Ethereum's like Web3 1.0. right? When people were experimenting with how crypto can unlock new network effects and new business models, new digital artifacts, blah, 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 right? And that's 1.0. Like if you look at OpenSea, that's like a Web 2 marketplace, but with digital assets. It's not like really full on like Web 3, right? It's like definitely just using the sliver of the superpowers of cryptography, right? But with all, like you said, now we have all that rich data. What could be potentially copied to Bitcoin or even made bigger and better on Bitcoin? Like I think people have sort of already understood that, hey, if it's the same JPEG but inscribed on Bitcoin is worth more. Well, that kind of logic, like hindsight being 20, what do you think is going to become like, oh, that's a no-brainer in the future? Like, right? What are those? I would say idea categories, maybe, or maybe you might have specifics. What are some of the things that you think should be copied over or built on Bitcoin before the next Bitcoin halving?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think that the ordinal space is really the kind of the sort of the really fertile soil that is going to nurture a lot of the next, kind of enormous concepts. But I think that, it's going to be extremely slow. I don't see founders being able to monetize ordinal tech before the next halving, but I do see the possibility of creating a new kind of substrate, a new kind of fundamental, architecture for how data is managed, in very, very short order. And I think we're already seeing that with, like all the zero knowledge kind of, work in the zero knowledge space. I'm very, very excited about, about all that. And, and I think that, I really see, Bitcoin is not a layer 1 at all. I think it'll behave more like a layer 0. And I think that every kind of, anybody storing data where the data is worth anything, will be sort of anchoring their, sort of the state of their database or their chain, onto Bitcoin in the form of a, some kind of a hash, so that, it's just the, it's going to be humanity's, vault, humanity's library. And I think that sort of underlying truth is really what's going to change commerce so fundamentally. Now, I think we need thousands of iterations to get there. We're years away from it actually, kind of, being that, that sort of hope and dream that we all want. But I think that ordinals are a sort of seminal piece of it, because we changed Bitcoin from an abacus to a library, with ordinals. And so what we can do, with that new functionality is really almost so big it's unimaginable. But I just think it's going to take years before some of the sort of the productization of all of those little kind of, pieces of technology are really realized. So that is maybe way too obtuse and not clear at all about like what's going to be hot in the Bitcoin space the next 200 days. But I think that, recursive inscriptions are going to essentially change the way that computing and data storage works. And so that's what I'm looking at.
Super excellent. And there are a lot of people building in that aspect of the hackathon. Excellent. What about you guys, Igor, Mike? What are, like, what are those categories that you could prioritize? Because you guys are looking at so many deals, right? How do you filter through them? Like what would catch your eye? What do you think is
problem number one is there's no bank. Okay, so that's the problem. You have legitimate Bitcoin and, dare I say, crypto companies that can't even get an operating account in a lot of places, and they're perfectly legitimate, even licensed operators. It's very unfortunate, and that has to change. I don't know when that's going to change, but if there was just one bank, okay, that just provided the banking rails, every single one of these companies would run to it right now. But that bank has to be a real bank, okay, which means somebody has to go and buy a bank. And I think Kraken was trying to, I don't know what's going on there, but opening up those type of accounts, and you run the risk of losing your international banking partners. If you're running that bank in El Salvador or Mexico, they don't want to give you an account because they're worried about losing their relationship with the US banks. Okay, so this Operation Choke Point is very real. And that is the #1 hinderer. If our companies could bank freely, could work with fiat rails, could work with credit cards and not be hindered by ACH and MTLs and all sorts of things. You know, even they go after the prime trust. They go after the companies where, you know, you can sort of go to market quickly before you do that. They go after them. So that, to me, that needs to change. I mean, everything that's building, there's too much being built on Bitcoin right now. All of these companies are building the infrastructure that's going to lead to the future. It's a bunch of Davids versus a Goliath. Okay, they're all linking together to handle cross-border and international remittances. They're playing by the rules that are being thrown down in the jurisdictions that they're in. Some are more favorable, some aren't, but it's crazy. Oh, you can do that, but you can't be custodial. You can't ever hold the person's funds. The person, it's like, you can't even go through you. Oh, you can take ACH payments, but you can't open an account for that person. Or there's like, so it's different everywhere. It's ridiculous. And it's terrible. So, I mean, I'm not nearly as bullish on ordinals and all of that as you. I would say I'm not bullish at all. I think the miners are probably pretty thankful that they've been getting a little bit of a pay subsidy from the ordinals. I'm not really into it as a collectible or as artwork or as any of those things. I look at it like fads, just like Beanie Babies or any other phenomenon as far as digital art goes. Now, clearly I'm wrong, right? I missed OpenSea. All right. I got a friend who was in OpenSea for, you know, a couple $1,000 in a seed round of OpenSea. I don't know where it's at right now, but that was a ripper. Okay. I mean, that's a serious banger. But what's going to happen with these things? You know, what's going to happen long term? I don't know. I think and I want to just stop with this. Here's what you were saying. You were saying, and I really love the way that you said it about these other technologies and whether it's Ethereum and these things that you can't wait for Bitcoin for. Okay. And so here's the thing. I guess my default setting, and this is going to limit me. Okay. It limits me in a lot of ways, but it allows me to focus on what I want to focus on and know one thing very well. Okay. And like, when you're saying, okay, well, we can't wait for Bitcoin for this, like these people are working on it and it is a real problem and it is going to happen and it does have legitimacy and merit. My brain is thinking, who's doing this on Bitcoin and who's going to do it on Bitcoin? And that's kind of where I go, you know? So that's the only difference, is like smart contracts, stable coins. These are coming to Bitcoin. They're out now. You know what I mean? The Operturns, the JPEGs, you know, the ordinals. It's just the beginning. I'm not bullish on. Okay, I'm not bullish on it. But you know, some of these recursive inscriptions and the other things, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it could get ugly. I don't know. Could get ugly.
There's definitely a chance of that. I mean, little messy innovation there. Let's see what happens. But thanks for that. And you guys have your you know, different viewpoints, but it does seem that we are getting a lot of knowledge from, you know, people trying on Ethereum or other places, right? And sort of thinking about, hey, would that work better on Bitcoin? That's $1 billion or even $1 trillion question right now. What about you, Igor?
Indeed. Yeah, I add to this. Actually, as a person with technical background, I would look at every blockchain as a tech, not like less maybe delicious as an ideology, right? But more as a tech. So for me, any blockchain, it is a layered system, right? A consensus layer, a data layer, an execution layer, which Bitcoin lacks today, right? And Bitcoin, like blockchain, is a great example of like terrific consensus layer system filled with a lot of capital. It's once again what I mentioned before. I mean, all the things aside, I mean, concerning decentralization, the more decentralized, the more secured, etc. Okay, it's a terrific consensus layer. There's a lot of capital that can be, and you can make use of it easily in the future. Okay, is it necessary that you take everything from Ethereum and copy cut it to the Bitcoin? I'm not sure. Maybe that's one point of view added. Let's take the best from Ethereum as a test net, okay, as Chris mentioned, and let's try to build it over Bitcoin. Or you can take a Bitcoin, what it is best at, right? A consensus layer, a trustless trust layer, and build and take the best examples of working projects out of other ecosystems and bring it together, right? Build some layer that gonna help you to channel this trustless trust from Bitcoin to a lot of experimentation taking place on other places. Let's make it more efficient. Let's not copycat every ecosystem in different parts of the blockchain world. That is another point of view at it, and I guess I'm more leaning to this one. So as they in Ethereum, they decided let's make Ethereum a foundational like layer for consensus. But to be honest, Bitcoin is a better place, a better blockchain to take this position, right, than Ethereum. But nobody has ever built something that helped this to happen. So that's something that I really believe if it emerges, it's gonna like be moonshot. Okay.
Super. Thanks for that. And thank you, all of you guys. I think we're on time, but maybe we can take one question. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Let's see if anybody in the crowd wants to ask a question. I recognize Hero Gamer here and who else? Do you guys want to ask a question before we're a little over on time? So if there are no questions, we'll just cut it. But if you guys have a question, Chris, Mike, and Igor here are happy to answer. Oh, there you go. Frederick's been a loyal listener here. Going once, going twice. If there's no questions, it's fine. Can you guys like share with everybody how to reach you guys? Like, let's say they have a because again, this video is going to be in our Discord in a public area, and people are going to be rewatching it, right? So they'll probably want to, reach out to you guys sometime or later. So what's the best way to reach you guys?
I mean, since we're broadcasting on Twitter, I mean, that's a fine platform. I mean, with all of its own kind of ridiculous imperfections, but it seems like a good place to sort of meet and shake hands in the tech world. Follow me at nether_berg, BURG, and my direct messages are on, so hit me there anytime.
Super. Yeah, just click on Chris's avatar here, Adam. DM him on
the same about me. Yeah, Twitter, LinkedIn. So perfectly.
Perfect. And you, Mike?
Yeah, it's Lightning Ventures. It's LTNG.ventures. And on Twitter, it's just my name, Mike Jarmuz, Jarmuz. I think if you type the Muzzman, you should find it there too. But yeah, LTNG.ventures if you want to get started investing in Bitcoin companies, because that's all we do. But I actually just discovered that Christopher here also has a syndicate. So, once you get your feet wet with angel investing, you can go ahead and just degen ape in. So yeah, that's it about me.
Super. Yeah, guys, reach out to our awesome panelists. They all got something going on, And again, this is brought to you by the Bitcoin Startup Lab. We're a top pre-accelerator on Bitcoin. We help people turn ideas into investment, whether they're startups. We're also the creators of the Bitcoin Olympics Hackathon. This is more of a cultural thing, it's a nonprofit. And we don't charge any money for the operations. We don't take any money out of the prizes for marketing. So all the prize donors, 100% undiluted, it goes to the winners, right? So if you guys want to sign up, it's at BTC Startup Lab. And there's going to be great speakers and mentors like Chris, Mike, and Igor, and many, many more up here. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing your knowledge. Hopefully it helps some people do some more innovation on Bitcoin, right? The right way. Thank you, guys. Checking out.
Thank you, Albert.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Oh, wait,
it.
hold on. Can you guys do one person finally requested here? How's that? One question? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
All right, Frederick, you made it like right there on a dot, and like our investors up here are so generous, they're going to take your question here. So Frederick, go ahead and speak.
Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
Can you hear me okay? Oh, great, perfect.
Okay, great.
All right, cool.
So Frederick first, and then Misha. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna give a quick background on myself so you guys know where I'm coming from, and I just want to apologize because I did not. I just came into this Twitter space. I'm fiat mining right now, so I'm a financial controller for a vineyard and winery up here in Napa Valley, and so I usually just try to listen in on a lot of spaces and then listen to recordings later for whatever I miss. But yeah, I graduated 2016 with my finance degree. Before this current job, I was working as assistant financial controller for an electrical contractor. And so I just submitted my pitch yesterday for, I think Stack has a Ready Layer 2 competition, but I'm really just, pitching around and just seeing, whose values align with mine. But basically, we partnered with Deep Lake Finance already. We have a really lean team. It's pretty much just me, Deep Lake, and a community moderator that we don't really have.
Okay, Frederick, can we skip to the question? So
Yeah.
So Deep Lake Finance is a DLC API provider. What's the question you have right now?
So we're trying to facilitate collateral lending using physical assets. And so my question is when I've already got an offer for 100,000 for 3%, right? But coming from my business background, that I value this idea at being a lot more. And so I was just wondering, my question is, how do you what advice do you guys have on filtering out between your potential investors and making sure that their value truly align with yours?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off. So a lot of things in this business are really kind of, there's a lot of gray. It's a spectrum, it's a gradient. Okay. This one for you is really kind of more binary. It's kind of on or off. And that is, if you have a great idea, the tools to monetize it are really going to cost you some money and commitment. In other words, do you have a company? Does it have an organizational structure? What country is it domiciled in? That's a big leap to take, from taking an idea from a drawing board or a whiteboard, or kind of an execution environment on a programming platform into, okay, now I'm going to productize this. It's just a huge leap that is a financial commitment and a huge commitment of time. And so that's where I would start is like what your idea is not worth anything without, that sort of organizational structure to deploy it into commerce. And so, that's what I would consider first and foremost.
Great. Okay. Excellent.
So assuming that, so I've done my market analysis, and the three issues that we see, right, is number one, on my side as the founder and the person with all of these wealthy clients, right, who even some of these wealthy clients already have Bitcoin, right, but that's the highest amount of risk that they're willing to take with the current climate is buying and holding Bitcoin only. And so trying to convince them that there's these new protocols for utility to add to Bitcoin has been a little bit of a struggle of mine, and it's something that is gonna take, could take days, could take months. It's up to the individual person. And so, really, my focus on as well is
Yeah, Frederick,
okay.
yes, like just for like the sake of time management, we're gonna go on to the last question, Misha. But yeah, welcome to like join the hackathon, Misha.
I'm in already.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
excellent.
Hey, how's it going? So my question's pretty simple, just in general. I'm in development. I'm a developer myself, and I'm trying to build a few lightning projects and different things. But I just wanted to ask you guys, what's the next big conference you guys are gonna be at, and what do you suggest to go? And in general, for networking, if anyone's in the Philly or New York area, I'd love to meet up and talk some more Bitcoin. That's it. But yeah, let me know what conference do you guys recommend for the rest of the year on Bitcoin technologies and all that.
I guess that's a great question to end this panel on. What in this year? What are the big Bitcoin conferences you guys are considering going or will go to?
I think all my favorite people are going to Amsterdam in October. I may try to do that if I can invite my wife and family. Otherwise, she'll completely kill me if I go to Amsterdam by myself. But yeah, I think that's going to be a pretty substantial event. There's lots of excellent reasons to go to Amsterdam anyway. But yeah, I mean, I think there's some great thinkers that are going there. Pretty tough on the bank account if you're not in Europe already. But yeah, otherwise I'm kind of holding out for Nashville in 2024, the great state of Tennessee.
Awesome. So what about you, Mike?
Well, man, there's so many conferences, and it's great that they're coming back. It's no surprise that the Ordinals champions would be just plugging the Bitcoin Magazine conferences because, they are definitely the most Ordinals friendly. But I have no doubt, Christopher, that we are going to get you to a real Bitcoin conference, okay? A Bitcoin only kind of conference, all right? Like next week, for example, my good friend Gary Leland is doing BitBlock Boom in Texas, okay? And yeah, maybe there's only 500 to 750 people there, but it's a very nice sweet spot where everyone is approachable. There's a number of things happening throughout the weekend. There's a casino night. There's a freaking carnivore steak dinner. There's privacy workshops. Do you want a second passport? Okay, there's a lot of other things in the Bitcoin community here that make that a really special event.
Can you drop the link there? That sounds like a really fun event, actually.
Yeah, it's just BitBlock Boom.
Oh, BitBlock Boom. All right, good.
And then in September, there is the Baltic Honey Badger in Riga. Now, that is a hardcore, amazing conference. Look at the lineup for Baltic Honey Badger in Riga. First week of September, Riga is just probably the best conference I went to last year. Absolutely incredible. Baltic Honey Badger, okay? The best, all right? You will love it. There will be zero shitcoinery there. There will be a no shitcoinery guarantee, and there will be a guarantee that all the content on the stage is of the highest possible caliber, period. End of story. Then October, I'll see you in Amsterdam. Maybe we can have a pint or smoke a something or other.
Or both.
I want to plug El Salvador in November. Amazing conference. This will be the 3rd annual Adopting Bitcoin. Okay. Some of us were there in the room when it was announced that Bukele was going to accept it as a currency. And then the following year with Bitcoin City and Bitcoin bonds, this is the 3rd year. That's a very affordable conference. Going to El Salvador, staying there, eating there, traveling, the conference ticket, and it's fantastic content. Okay. That's in November. And then in December, as if that wasn't enough, in Las Vegas, there's a conference called Unconfiscatable. Okay, and that's just unconfiscatable.com. It's the first week in December in Las Vegas. This will be the 4th year. I actually started that conference. I did the first 3. I'm less involved this year, but it'll be high quality. And yeah, there's a poker game, a Texas Hold'em, but like pretty decent stakes. You know what I mean? Like Texas Hold'em game and like a lot of fun throughout the weekend. So I think that it is my goal, Chris, to get you to a few of these boutique sort of a little bit more, I hate to say maxi, but a little bit more hardcore, independent, boutique. What's the word?
Dude, the arm twisting is totally unnecessary. I need no more invitation than just an invitation. I'm thrilled to go to a less generalist and kind of more kind of pinpoint precision, more focused, laser focused kind of expedition into Bitcoin. Would adore the opportunity.
Okay, super. I mean, like we got Igor. I think that was pretty exhaustive from between like Christopher and Mike. So Igor, we'll skip over you because we're right there on the 2:30 mark right now, Pacific time. But again, thank you so much, Igor, Mike, and Chris for sharing your knowledge. And based on those suggestions, maybe we're gonna meet some of the audience and everybody here in person at one of these events. Thank you guys. Again, sign up for the Bitcoin Olympics Hackathon. We have prizes for any kind of Bitcoin technology being built on top of this for this hackathon. Again, it's at BTC Startup Lab, and just sign up, join the Discord. This video is going to be there. We're going to be sharing this content freely there. Okay, thanks guys. Thank you so much.
Guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks audience too.